Welcome to the Planning Committee. I'm Councillor Susan Downing, Chair of the committee. I'll shortly ask all members of the committee to introduce themselves and state the ward that they represent. For members of the public who will be addressing the committee this evening, the procedure for determining each application has been published on the Council's Committee Management Information, along with a notice regarding the broadcast and recording of the meeting. Before we start the meeting, there are a few important housekeeping rules to explain. Speaking at this meeting remains at my discretion as Chair, and only those people who have registered in advance to speak will be allowed to. All participants must keep their microphones on mute until invited to speak by me. This helps to avoid interference from background noise. The Democratic Services Officer will mute all microphones if it becomes necessary. When invited to speak, members and officers must turn their cameras on. Members of the public addressing the committee may choose to leave their cameras off if they do not want their image recorded. Members and officers must use the raise hand function to indicate that you want to speak. If you do not have this function on your device, please instead type a Q into the meeting chat. The meeting chat is strictly for members and officers' use only. Anyone using the chat without permission may be removed from the meeting. If at any point the meeting becomes inchoate due to technical problems, I will adjourn the meeting whilst the issues are resolved. Should there be any technical issues that affect the broadcast of this meeting, I will again adjourn whilst the issues are resolved. Should any member lose connection during the meeting, they will not be allowed to vote on the application under discussion at that time. I will now open the meeting and hand over to the Democratic Service Officer to announce apologies for absence under agenda item 1 and ask each committee member to introduce themselves.
Thank you, Chair. We have apologies from Councillor Sharon Davies, Councillor Gerdish Gill and Councillor Karen Sims. Councillor Heatherton, can you introduce yourself in the ward that you represent?
Hello, I'm Sandra Heatherton. I'm the councillor for Tividale and I'm Vice Chair of the Planning Committee.
Thank you. Councillor Ahmed?
Thank you. Councillor Peter Allen for Great Bridge. I'm a member of the committee.
Thank you. Councillor Ahmed? Councillor Ahmed, can you hear me? I'll come back to him. Councillor Chidley?
Hello, yes, Councillor Chidley, Prince's End in Tipton.
Thank you. Councillor Dalu?
Councillor Dalu, member of the committee, Westover Central Ward.
Thank you. Councillor Pamela Hughes?
Hello, it's Councillor Pam Hughes and I represent Wensbury Central Ward.
Councillor Mushtaq Hussain?
Councillor Mushtaq Hussain, representing Albury Ward.
Thank you. Councillor Jones?
I'm Councillor Ian Jones, Councillor for Tipton Green.
Thank you. Councillor Mabina?
Councillor Tabitha Mabina, representing Executive Ward.
Councillor Miller?
Hi, I'm Kay Miller. I'm Councillor for Hadley Heath Ward. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Ralph?
Representing Soham Employer Board.
Thank you. Back to Councillor Ahmed. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. Councillor Zahur Amin, St Paul Ward.
Thank you.
Agenda item 2, declaration of interest. Do any members have interest to declare on any of the matters before the committee today? No? Right, I'll take that as none.
Okay.
Item 3. Are the minutes of the meeting held on the 8th of July moved as a correct record?
Move it.
Chair.
I move.
Mark says there's no sound.
Yeah.
We've got no sound, Chair.
Oh, right. Okay.
I moved it, Chair. Can you hear me?
We can hear you, Councillor Dalu, but I don't know whether we're having problems with the sound at the moment. So we're just adjourning until we can get that settled. Thank you. Is it from here?
It's the live feed.
Oh, right. Thank you, committee. I'm just making a sound check. Hopefully we'll be back with you shortly. Hello, our second sound check. I hope it's working now. We thought we was doing so well being early.
Yeah, yeah.
Hello, there's a third sound test.
Should be a delay, which should come through any second.
Hello, sound test number 4. Can you hear me now?
Hi, Sue. Yes, I can hear you.
Oh,
Yes, I can hear you, sir.
But that's
Yeah, I can hear you.
in the live feed, so these, yeah.
it's okay. Technical are testing the lines at the moment.
I can hear you now.
Okay, that's good. So, are we ready to resume? Okay. Right, sorry about that, everyone. Technical glitches, I'm afraid. Right, we were on agenda item 3. Are the minutes of the meeting held on the 8th of July moved as a correct record?
Yes, Chair, I move it.
Second that, Chair.
Are there any objections? No, thank you. So I take it, I do have the consensus of the committee that the minutes are an actual record.
Yes, Chair.
Yes, yes.
Yes, Chair.
Yeah.
Yes, Chair.
Thank you. Item 4, planning application DC/20/63931. Proposed amendments to site layout and house types of previously approved application DC/16/59277 with the addition of 28 dwellings. Land at Hall Green Road, West Bromwich. No members have indicated that they have been lobbied on this application. Are there any other, has anyone been lobbied and wish to record it?
I put a note in, please, on my Sandwell.
Mr. Fern, is that?
Yeah. I have stated an objection on my Sandwell.
Okay.
Sorry, I don't know how else to get my message across.
No, that's fine. Okay. And Councillor Jones?
Yeah, Chair, I was previously cabinet member when this application and this site was acquired, so I don't know whether that's appropriate for me to take part in this deliberation.
What would you suggest, sir?
Have you had any involvement in this particular application, councillor?
Previously, when, not this particular one, but previously when it was Mar City and that, I was a cabinet member with responsibility.
Well, this is an amendment to a previous application. So that it's up to you, but I think you'll be okay. Seeing as you haven't had, in your capacity as cabinet member, you wouldn't have been involved in the planning application anyway. So
no. Okay, thank you.
In that case, can I ask John for any updates, please?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Good evening, members. As regards the recommendation, members, there's nothing to add, no updates, but I would just bring to your attention that we have received further comments from a nearby resident raising further concerns and further objections, but these objections are already summarised within the report. Thank you.
Thank you, John. We have an objector, Mr. Nigel Fern, and an applicant, Mr. Horsley. Mr. Fern, you have 5 minutes to address the committee. You need to take your mute off, Mr. Fern.
I'm not very familiar. Thank you. So I'm not very familiar with the team. Thank you, the chair. I would just like a few points answered. What has been done to ensure continuation of the building work and to keep the application alive since the initial granting of the building plan in 2016. Secondly, what the criteria for keeping a building application is alive and does therefore point 1 meet this criteria. What do officers in the council think about the planning laws? Because there's been certain changes in recent weeks by the government. I would question the practicality My fourth point of 28 small houses on what is basically a football playing field. How much room will they have in the house and how big a garden will they have? Sorry to put it so basically, but that's what it boils down to. What sort of size and what quality of life, once you take into account roads and pavements, will these people have? Point 5 is there's a 99-year covenant on the trees, part of the urban forest programme that's situated at the side of the field. That covenant cannot be broken. Traffic in and out of the estate, there's a risk that if it's not addressed, there's going to be gridlock on the roundabout outside Crankhill Lane. Cars won't be able to get across Crankhill Lane onto Westminster Road, and there will be absolute chaos. Unless the only answer I can think is that there's traffic lights within the estate, which is happening over by Queslet, Asda Queslet. And it could be chaos because the traffic will backfill to Crankhill Lane, and cars won't even be able to get across the island. It will be affected, local people. The playing field itself is my question. I think personally, best of luck to them if they can build on the quarry. Well, you know, give it your best. You know, I think, well, it's land that's not being used. If they can do it and then get some quality of life there, well, best of luck to them, I suppose. You know, how safe it's going to be and how deep they've got to dig down to make it safe. I mean, that's for surveyors. But my objection really is why then also try and dig up a playing field, which at the moment is somewhere for people to let off steam that live in Campfield Crescent and Needless Grove and Sandfield Road. Where are they going to go to walk the dog, kick a ball about and let off steam? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Fern. Now comes to Mr. Horsley. You have 5 minutes to address the committee.
Thank you, Chair. Members may recall the previous planning application for 210 dwellings in 2016, which was approved by committee and has subsequently been implemented, with some house foundations being laid next to Hall Green Road. Its application layout is extremely similar to that previously approved, but simply seeks to change some of the larger footprint house types into smaller semi-detached houses and slightly increases the amount of housing while still providing 1.5 hectares of public open space as required under the outline planning permission. The changes mainly occur within the centre of the layout and therefore do not change the previously approved boundary relationship conditions. The original outline application was for 250 houses, and all supporting planning reports such as the environmental impact assessment, the traffic impact assessment and the drainage strategy were based on this amount of housing. These aspects were considered by the Environment Agency, your highways officer, your drainage officer and found to be acceptable. This is still the case with this application for 238 houses being below 250 dwellings, as confirmed within your officer's planning committee report. We have worked with the planning, highways and urban design departments during this application, revising the layout and house types in order to achieve an acceptable proposal in line with SBD requirements as presented to you this evening. The principle of housing and the proposed house types are considered to be acceptable in this location, as have been established under the previous application in 2016 and noted within your officer's planning committee report. The site has good transport links and is within close proximity to services and therefore considered well positioned for sustainable development. The NPPF promotes sustainable development, and as we believe the application meets all of Sandwell's policy requirements and there are no material considerations providing reasons for refusal, we would gratefully ask members to support your officer's recommendation and approve the application. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. John, do we need to take any addresses from highways, public health?
I'm not sure at the moment, Chair. I mean, Mr. Fern has clearly raised some pertinent points that relate to the development and the scheme. Just for information, members will already be aware that the points, the case officer has addressed these points within the body of the report. I draw your attention to paragraphs 6.4 and 6.5 in particular. I think really, Chair, it's over to members. If members have specific concerns from either a planning or a highways perspective, then myself and Mr. Chadwick would be more than happy to field questions. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Right, we're now open to members of the committee to have questions. Councillor Dallow, you'd like to ask a question?
Yes, thank you, Chair. I just want to ask a question to the applicant. How many electric charging points we are going to have, and how many apprentices he is going to employ, and will he be, if the application goes ahead, will he be employing local people? Thank you.
Am I okay to respond, Chair?
You are, yes, Mr. Horsley.
Thank you. Within the proposed conditions, the case officer has suggested there's, I believe, a 10% energy efficiency planning condition that needs to be discharged. And there's also reference within the committee report about employing local apprentices. So although those details haven't been finalised as of yet, that they're within the committee report and the council's requirement for those aspects to be fulfilled and addressed.
Thank you. And Councillor Miller, you have a question?
Hiya. Well, the obvious question is, Mr. Horsley, what's been happening since 2016? You know, if you've had, obviously the remediation of the site is important, and can you tell us how that has been progressed and what stage that's at, and why, because this has been going on a long time in different forms, different organisations like Mars City and then Aurora, can you kind of give us an update on the situation in relation to that, please?
Of course, we've the site came to a little bit of a standstill halfway through the remediation process. We've had to undertake some additional testing, and as part of the strategy that's been agreed with your EHO and the Environment Agency, we need to get a little bit closer dialogue with them moving forward. But the principle of the excavated area as it stands at the moment is to lay a stone blanket pretty much at the excavated level, and then re-engineer back in the extracted soils to a level area, and then we can, how can I say, start normal development. It's as everyone knows, it's quite a large task to remediate the previous landfill site, but moving forward, the operation should be levelling off the current excavated area, putting a stone blanket around so any gas can escape around the perimeter, and then re-engineer the soils back in. So the foundations that have been laid to the front of Hall Green Road were outside of the landfill area, and so this is actually an amber zone under an HBC as opposed to a red zone, which the main site is. So they utilise different methodologies in terms of remediation and gas venting. So there was an awful lot of work to do to prepare the strategy and retest them, because it has been sat there for quite a while, and retesting has occurred, and we just need to then close that out now moving forward so that eventually the houses can be sold.
Okay. So,
any further questions?
Yeah, just only one. So are there any houses built actually at this moment on a bit of land that has been reclaimed, as it were?
The full reclamation hasn't occurred as of yet, but the foundations have been cast for 3 houses. the access road stonework has been put in place for the first 10-15 metres. But yeah, there's an awful lot of upfront work before the development proper can commence.
Okay. Thank you.
Councillor Chidley, you have a question?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Yeah, I've just got a concern, and it's on behalf of the objector, really. I'm looking at an aerial picture, and there is quite, well, to the right, you have got the recreation ground there, and I'm a bit concerned that, like the objector said, you know, we need green space. And I'm just concerned if that's taken away. I mean, the other side, I've got no objection to that, but I have on that side. I mean, can you comment on that about taking the green space away?
Am I okay to reply again, Chair?
You are, Chair. Yes.
Thank you.
Certainly.
Within the original outline application, which dates back, I think, to 2012, there was a requirement for 1.5 hectares of public open space to be weaved through the development. So if you look at the site plan as proposed, that area is still being provided on this revised layout. So the condition that set out 1.5 hectares needed to be retained has been retained within the approved plan on 2016, and it's also being provided pretty much in the same location and the same size as the current application. So that aspect hasn't varied since 2012.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Any further questions? Councillor Ahmed.
Thank you, Chair. Just a question, I think will be for John to just answer that regarding flooding. Have you the company has submitted drainage strategy yet or not? As part of this is full drainage strategy is supposed to be submitted since last time. So have they submitted it all or not?
Yeah, a revised drainage strategy has been submitted, and again at outline stage and the application in 2016. It's very, very similar to what has previously been approved. So, and not the Environment Agency and Sandwell's drainage officer, I don't believe, have any objections to the revision.
Okay, just a question to John then. John, sorry, is that so? They'll be using tanks there, atomic tanks, or John? John, can't hear you. Your mic is on mute.
John, you're on mute.
Yes, I know, Chair. Sorry, apologies. I managed to work the camera, but not the microphone. I need to coordinate better, clearly. Sorry. Councillor Ahmed, yes, we're just building on what Mr. Horsley has said there. We're also, I'll draw your attention to the recommendation as well. Within the recommendation, the condition 4 that is proposed does include drainage, and within that drainage, clearly there will be traditional, if you like, traditional drains, but also to include a sustainable drainage system as well. So that's usually the sort of soakaways and larger retention ponds and so forth. But yeah, it is controlled by condition there, Councillor.
Thank you.
Councillor Allen.
Cheers. Thank you, Chair. For the applicant, when do we anticipate a completion of this project? I know it's a big build. It's been on a long time, just the preparation. When would you see all of these properties being on site and occupied?
Generally, if I was to estimate, probably a 9 to 12 month completion of the remediation strategy, and that's building in a little bit of flex. Over and above that, our standard build rate is approximately 50 dwellings per hectare. So, 50 dwellings per year, sorry. So realistically, unless, it's probably looking at 5 to 6 years, but it's a big site, and it has got an awful lot of problems in terms of making sure that the ground is remediated properly, the gassing ground is dealt with, and also there's not problems, but the foundation solutions for the houses isn't straightforward.
Right. Any further questions now? I'll just have one. Oh, Councillor Chidley.
Hello, thanks, Chair. Yeah, it's just to John Baker, really, or highways. The objective did mention about traffic. We got on the traffic. Well, could we, if there is a problem in the future, could we do something about the traffic if that is going to be a problem, you know, a backlog? Thank you.
Good evening, Chair. Simon Chadwick from Highways. Do apologise, I'm on a spare laptop, so I have no video today. Councillor, the existing permission, the extant permission, does have a condition attached to it, which still remains, that they do need to do some analysis of the surrounding highway network, including the junctions. And then if there's schemes to improve that, those junctions are needed, those need to be in place before the dwellings are occupied. So that condition is already there on part of the existing extant permission. So.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for clarifying.
Councillor Miller. Councillor Miller.
Hi again. Just to, because I know it was mentioned in kind of resident feedback in relation to this. I notice on the plan Stanfield Road is still kind of outlined as an entry on to the site, and the objector, Mr. Flynn's concerns, and Councillor Chidley saying that the traffic will reach round to Needwood Grove. So really, what will you use Stanfield Road for, even although we have terms within this report that obviously it's one of the recommendations. Can you say a wee bit about that, please? Thank you.
Right. John, do you want to answer that one?
Yes, Chair. I'll start the ball rolling. I mean, clearly, if Mr. Chadwick wants to come in, then you know, it's probably suitable that he does. But yeah, looking at the plans, Councillor, the access onto the road that you've just mentioned is for pedestrians only. The intention is that all vehicles will be entering and exiting the site off All Green Road.
Councillor Ahmed, do you have another question?
Yes, Chair. I mean, I don't know how this is related to this. Not related, indirectly it is related. There's some housing done by Aurora. I'm not sure it's the same company. I'm sure you yourself in Smedic, in Cranford Garages, Cranford Grange.
Right.
And there's an issue regarding lighting columns. There's no one who's taking responsibility. Who's supposed to put it on? So, question to John Baker or the company itself: what insurances are there? Because when the residents move in, or some of them moved in, there's no lighting columns and all that in the previous development. So that sort of insurances we need, that development is going to take place, but safety, health and safety is important for residents, people who are moving into this development.
Has this been taken into account, John?
Right. Yeah. Thank you, Chair. It's always an interesting one, isn't it, Councillor Ahmed? And I think you're quite right to raise it. I think a large part of this will depend on what the applicant's intentions are in terms of the road network being adopted by the council. I mean, clearly, if they choose to have the road network adopted, then we have standards that we apply regarding the footpaths, road construction, and also details of street lighting as well. I was just checking through the conditions actually on the recommendation, and it might be prudent just to pick up on that point and belt and braces for us actually to include something along the lines of external lighting as well, just to sort of give you that added reassurance. If the road network isn't adopted, then we will have recourse to a planning condition to try and ensure that there are suitable lighting levels for residents. Simon, I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Thank you, Councillor. With the adoption process, yes, we under the Highways Act, all we can do is make sure the street lights are there at the point of adoption. So we won't actually adopt the highway as maintainable at the public expense until those lights are functioning and working. However, up to that point, it does remain a private site, and we have, under the Highways Act, we have very little control to force street lights to be put in and illuminated until that point.
We're happy for a lighting condition to be added. We've done it. Similar conditions have been incorporated elsewhere on other sites, so that's fine. The proposal as it's drawn is to adopted standards and is in line with SBD guidance. So the lighting is fine. The lighting condition is fine from our point of view.
Right, thank you. Councillor Chidley.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I was just looking on the schedule of open market units, and I was just looking at 3.04. It's got a 3-bed, but the actual number, it's got 0. I didn't know. Was that a mistake or something?
Sorry, that's I should have deleted that line from the schedule. Apologies for any confusion.
Right, then, okay, thank you.
Any further questions from the committee?
Just want to come back on the lighting. Can you make sure that please that is adequate lighting, is enough lighting there at the moment, not just 1 or 2 columns here and there. There is a concern within this Smethwick area at the moment, and just my concern on that, please. So it needs to be picked up.
What we've done elsewhere is rather than just provide a lighting column layout, councils normally require a lux layout to ensure that there's adequate lighting levels. I'm assuming that you'll be asking for the same again.
Thank you. Okay. No, I'll leave that with John and Simon. So, thank you.
Councillor Mabina, did you say? Councillor Mabina, you have a question?
Yes, my question is, how many parking spaces have they allocated to each dwelling? Given parking is the major cause of antisocial behavior. So I just want to know what measures they've taken to address that problem. Thank you.
No, I didn't. How many parking spaces?
There are, if you'd like me to answer, Chair.
59 parking spaces.
There are more than 59 parking spaces. Every dwelling has off-street allocation in line with SBD requirements for off-site parking, which has been tested by your Highways Department and again previously approved. So these it's compliant with your requirements of the council. But all on site, all on plot parking.
Thank you. Any further questions, Councillor Mabina?
No, thank you.
Councillor Dallo?
Thank you, Chair. Question to the applicants: how many entry points to the site? I only can see one from Hall Green Road. Will there be another one, or?
There is one main access, vehicular access. Yet there are 3 additional pedestrian accesses proposed in addition to the vehicle access to have site permeability. But again, these haven't changed as part of this application. So this aspect was approved back in 2016.
Anything further, Councillor Dallow?
Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Chidley?
Yes, thank you, Chair. I'm just looking at the houses, the actual floor plan. I've noticed, unless I've missed it, on some of the houses on the ground floor, you've got a lounge, and I'm looking at the design with the kitchen diner at the back. Now, the first floor plan, you've got bedroom 3, you've got a bathroom, then bedroom 1. Now, the second floor plan, you've got a bedroom 2 and a bedroom 4. Now, I cannot see if they've got an ensuite or anything. Is there going to be an ensuite or?
On the house type, the 408, there's a shower room on the second floor. On the house type 406, there's a shared ensuite on the second floor as well. And bear with me a second, sorry.
That's on the second floor, okay. I can't see on the plan. I don't know whether.
Now, in fairness, on the house type the 4AG, there isn't an ensuite on the second floor. So on that specific house type, there isn't an ensuite on the second floor, but on the other 2 currently proposed, or there are.
Why is it that they haven't got an ensuite then?
It provides a mix for potential house purchasers who have preferences. So it's if they didn't like that particular house, then they could purchase one that has got an ensuite. There's no regulation to have an ensuite on the second floor, so it's catering for individual purchasers' dairy taste.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Right, thank you. I just have one question myself to Mr. Horsley. The objector mentioned tree protection. Has that been taken into consideration, and what trees are being left on the site?
The tree protection, none of the trees are have a tree preservation order on them, and the site is not within a conservation area. Matthew Lynch, who was the land manager, dealt with what has been referred to on the tree area back in 2015, seeking for the redevelopment. And again, the principle was established that the site would be redeveloped and the self-seeded trees would be replanted as currently loosely indicated on the site plan. So in order for the development to proceed, there'd need to be a replanted in line with a forthcoming approved landscaping plan.
Right. Just one more question to John. John, is there a covenant on this this land?
Yes, Chair. It looks like there is a covenant with what was the body called? The Forestry, was it Forestry Commission? There was a 99-year covenant, but I mean we have drawn it to the attention of the applicant. The applicant company are aware of that, and that's something that they need to deal with themselves. I mean, as we've said many a time, Chair, at Planning Committee, the grant of planning permission does not overcome other legal considerations, so that is something. That's right. The urban forest is part of an urban forest project. I think a lot of this dated back to the 80s, if my memory serves me correctly. There's a 99-year covenant in place, So as I said, the applicants are aware of it. They need to deal with it. The granting of planning permission does not overcome that legal consideration. That still remains. And just picking up on the point the applicant made, Chair, as well, just to give yourself and other members some reassurance. Again, within the recommendation, we are asking for details of landscaping as well. Thank you.
Thank you. In that case, then, committee will now move. Oh, sorry.
Councillor Allen.
Oh, Councillor Allen.
Thank you, Chair. Just to try and move things on a bit. Obviously, what we're looking at tonight, a lot of things have already been agreed and covered by the previous planning application. We're actually here to look at a proposed amendment of the site layout and to include an extra 28 dwellings. I mean, on that basis, I'd like to move forward with a recommendation as laid out in the papers, but with the extra one of XV 15 to have details of external lighting.
Thank you, Councillor Allen. Can I have a seconder, please?
Seconded, Chair.
Sorry, is that Councillor Dallow?
Yeah.
The objector's had his hand up for quite a while. I don't know if you just want to tell him that he can't come back in.
Right, Mr. Ferran, unfortunately, we can't return to you as each, unless you have a question asked by the committee. You've had your 5 minutes, so I'm afraid we can't return to you. We're going to the motion now. So we've had Councillor Allen has proposed it, Councillor Dallow has seconded, and Democratic Services will now take the vote.
Okay, so the motion is approval of this planning application subject to the conditions set out in the published report and an additional condition moved today regarding external lighting. Councillor Downing, are you voting for, against or abstaining?
For.
Councillor Heavycombe?
For.
Councillor Ahmed?
For.
Councillor Allen moved the recommendation. Councillor Chidley?
For.
Councillor Dallow seconded it. Councillor Pamela Hughes?
For.
Thank you. Councillor Hussain?
For.
Councillor Jones?
For.
Councillor Mabina?
For.
Councillor Miller? Councillor Miller, can you hear us?
Against?
Councillor Ralph?
For.
Thank you. Chair, there's just one objection, so that application is approved.
That application is approved. Thank you very much. We'll now go over to agenda item 5, planning application DC/20/64114. Proposed construction of a new 2-storey teaching block within the grounds of Bristol Hall Academy, including new access to the school, increased parking provision and landscaping, Bristol Hall Academy, Bristol Hall Lane, Albury. No members have been lobbied on this application. Can I just check that with you, please? Anyone been lobbied? No?
No, Chair, no.
Thank you. John, have you any updates on the report, please?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Just the one update, members. You'll notice the part of the recommendation. Well, the recommendation begins that it's recommended for approval, subject to no adverse comments being received from the lead local flood authority. We've had those comments back, and in response to that, we just want to flesh out proposed condition 1 regarding drainage. For that to include a detailed sustainable drainage scheme as well. And whilst I mentioned drainage, I would also reiterate that Severn Trent have also commented and raised no objections to the scheme. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, John. No objector present? No. Committee, there's no objector present. We have the applicant Stephen Harrison and agent Keir McNeil present. You have up to 5 minutes if you want to address the committee.
Yes, sorry, I'd just like to explain a little bit about the school need and the contextual approach of the building. So I'm Keir McNeil from ADP Architects of the Agent. So the new teaching block will allow an additional 150 school places, increasing the school from 950 to 1,100 pupils. The Year 7 admissions will increase from 190 to 220 when the building opens. I believe the school has been oversubscribed for the last couple of years. It will also provide employment for 8 additional staff. In terms of the facilities itself, the teaching block will provide the school with additional SEN facilities. The school has a high proportion of pupils with special educational needs. It will provide a much needed kitchen and dining facility because the school doesn't actually have any on-site kitchen as it stands. So meals are delivered every day to the school. And as well as this, it will provide 4 general teaching classrooms, an activity space and a graphics room. The site itself is extremely constrained. It's surrounded by residential properties on all sides, and this has been an important consideration when developing the positioning and the massing of the building. So the building and the parking have been positioned to avoid lost soft play area from the sports field and utilise existing access from Bristol Hall Road for the servicing of the kitchen and parking. The building's also been orientated away from the Bristol Hall Road neighbouring properties. So the short gable end of the building faces the houses with no windows, with overlooking and privacy in mind. The building falls with the site, so it's limited to single storey closest to the western boundary and the neighbouring properties. And the mass has been stepped back from the west boundary to reduce the visual impact and retain the existing tree belt, which also screens the building and the site. With regards to parking, an additional 23 parking spaces will be provided as part of the development, which will help relieve the high traffic and on-street parking along Bristol Hall Lane during school hours. The new parking will also be staff only to prevent noise and disturbance to neighbouring properties. And then just to summarise, I'd like to say that we believe the teaching block will enhance the educational facilities at Bristol Hall Academy, which we feel aligns with the council vision of a sustainable community services and lifelong learning. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. McNeil. Do any members have any questions? No? No? In that case, then may I ask a member of the committee for a motion, please?
Yes, I'd like to move the motion that we agree this proposal.
Thank you, Councillor Chidley. Can I have a seconder for that, please?
I'll second
that, Chair.
Chair.
Now I'll hand over to Stephanie to take the vote.
Thank you, Chair. So the motion is approval subject to the conditions set out in the published report. Chair, are you voting for, against or abstaining? For. Councillor Heavycombe?
For.
Councillor Ahmed?
For.
Councillor Allen?
For.
Councillor Chidley? You moved it. Thank you. Councillor Dallow? Councillor Dallow?
Yeah,
Did you second it? Yes. Yeah. Councillor Dallow seconded it. Sorry, that's my fault. Councillor Hughes?
For.
Thank you. Councillor Hussain?
For.
Councillor Jones?
For.
Councillor Mabina?
For.
Councillor Miller?
For.
Councillor Ralph?
For.
Thank you. Chair, there's no against, so that application is approved.
Our application is approved then. Thank you for attending. Right, we'll go to agenda item 6, planning application DC/20/64188. Proposed change of use to house in multiple occupancy, HMO, including a first floor rear extension with external alterations and associated car parking. Granville House, 40 Wood Green Road, Wednesbury. At this point, no members have indicated they have been lobbied on this application. So we'll go to John for an update, please, John.
Right, yeah, thank you, Chair. As regards the recommendation, members, I've nothing to add. The only point I would make, Chair, if I may quickly, is that one of the ward members did request a site visit when we first received this application, but it was right at the start of lockdown, and as we've discussed previously, unfortunately, government guidance is that we as a planning committee should not be undertaking site visits. We've tried to mitigate that, as you know, members, with the links to Google Street View, for example, that's contained within the report. And in this particular case as well, the case officer has managed to secure some photographs which are included at the end of the report to show the application site and, importantly, the context of the application site as well. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, John. We have no objectors registered to speak?
No, just the applicant's agent, Chair.
Right, we have the applicant's agent, Mr. Gurpreet Benning. You have 5 minutes to address the committee, Mr. Benning.
Thank you, Chair, and hello, members. Yeah, I'm not sure if you know this building. It's in quite a bit of state of disrepair, and we're getting a lot of antisocial behaviour. So we are pretty keen, the applicant is to get an approval on it and start to commence the work. There was an extension on there previously that I got approved for in 2007. So we've just literally gone for the same type of extension again. And again, it was run as a nursing home previously. The applicant has tried to lease it out or rent it out as a nursing home, but we've had little success due to the way the nursing home's actually laid out. It doesn't comply with the current regulations. And finally, the applicant is a experienced landlord. I understand there's quite a lot of rooms in terms of 28 people, 28 HMOs, but he's got a lot of experience in this field, so he shouldn't have any issues in terms of any antisocial behaviour within the actual building itself. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Members, do you have any questions? No? No questions for the applicant?
Councillor Ahmed.
Councillor Ahmed.
Thank you, Chair. Just a question. I mean, I was just reading it. So how many beds is it already we got on this, and how many more we are looking up for the new development? Yes. Thank you. Applicant.
Shall I take this one, Chair? Yeah, we're proposing 28 HMO rooms. They're all single rooms. There's no doubles or anything. Single occupants.
Thank you. Any further questions? John, would you like to come in at that stage?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. It's really just to add to what the agent has just said, and I think as well, part of Councillor Ahmed's question was regarding the existing use, the building as a care home, just by way of comparing and contrasting. Councillor Ahmed, when it was a care home, just looking at the plans myself, I think it accommodated up to 19 beds. but there was previous permissions for a first floor extension, very much akin to what's proposed as part of this scheme. As I say, previously it was a 19-bed care home with the potential to be extended. This proposal is for 28 beds. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Councillor Hepburn and Councillor Ahmed. Councillor Dallin.
Councillor Evercombe.
Thank you, Chair. It's my questions to the applicant. It's rather a large HMO. Would you consider reducing the rooms back to 19?
I don't think that would be viable in terms of the actual use. I know that's not a planning point of view, but obviously we've got to look at the economy and how it works. But 19 would not work. It just wouldn't work.
Why?
In terms of the investment and the purchase and the conversion and the amount of investment itself on the property, it's quite a large extension. There's quite a lot of works to be done within the building itself. Like I said, literally the whole building is in a state of disrepair, so it needs to go from scratch and redone.
Thank you.
Councillor Ahmed.
Thank you, Chair. Just another question regarding the car parking spaces. I mean, if you're proposing 24 single HMOs, and then the car parking is only 14, so we are putting some sort of elevated pressure on the local streets. How can you come up with that, John or John, whichever can answer that, please? Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Ahmed, yeah, I'll probably have to bring my colleague, Mr. Chadwick, in at this point as well. I mean, clearly we do have a council policy as regards HMOs and associated car parking provision, and it is one space for every 2 rooms that's being created. So whilst we have 28 rooms proposed, the pro rata provision for car parking spaces is 14, but clearly, you know, that doesn't tell the full story, does it? In some instances, and colleagues from Highways have looked closely at the scheme as well, and particularly in the context of former uses as well. And Highways have raised no objections, Councillor. I can see Mr. Chadwick's chair has put his hand up to come in there. So I think I'll leave it to the Highway experts to comment further, Chair, if that's okay.
Okay, if we can carry on with Mr. Chadwick then with that question.
Thank you, John. I think you covered most of it, actually. Thank you. But we would look at the sustainability of the site as well. And clearly, there's quite a lot of bus routes go past there. There are train stations nearby. There's quite a large retail outlet nearby that's easy to walk to. And also, what I would say, the Wood Green Road is protected by traffic regulation orders all along its length. So. And the other thing we'd look at is there is space, quite good space actually, to enter and leave in a forward gear because there's an in and an out on the site. So in terms of safety, it's not a problem. As you're right, there is a policy, and it's what we'd normally look at is 1 space per 2, because the type of people who live in HMOs, not everybody owns vehicles generally. So that's and it meets that criteria. So yeah, we looked at everything together really, and we were happy with that.
Thank you, Simon. Would John like to come back in? You need to take it.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Councillor Ahmed, I think between myself and Mr. Chadwick, we will give you a comprehensive answer. And I just wanted to pick up on something Mr. Chadwick said. I mean, we are looking at all, you know, in the modern age, we do look at alternatives to the car as well. And I know that it's not always an easy thing to do, but one of the conditions that is proposed is regarding cycle storage as well. So you know, that again, we do have a policy relating to cycle storage and trying to encourage alternative uses of transport other than the private car. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, John. Thank you. Councillor Dallow. Councillor Dallow?
His microphone's off.
Your microphone is off, Councillor Dallow.
Can you hear me now?
We can, yes.
although part of the question has been answered already, but I'm still not satisfied. 28 persons will be living there and the 14 parking spaces. Although I know the area, but I don't know whether there will be a double yellow line and where the people are going to park. Then there are other people's houses outside other people's houses or what, and that might be a great problem. How do we know if the people got more cars than what we had anticipated now?
Right.
Chair, if I may come in there, you will see from the picture that my colleague Alison has just managed to put on the screen, just to try and answer Councillor Dallou's, or part of Councillor Dallou's question. You can quite clearly see that right outside the property there are existing double yellow lines.
Right. Thank you, John. Councillor Chidley, I believe you have a question.
It's not so much as a question, but I don't think there's going to be a problem with parking, because I think people who live in a HMO probably aren't that, you know, financially better off. I don't know what other word to say, but we have got the cycle, you know, store. And there are double yellows, so they can't really park there, and I wouldn't have thought that there'd be that many cars, to be fair. So that's where I stand on that anyway. Thank you.
Councillor Heatherton.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, my question again is to the applicant. What age group are you aiming these properties at? My concern is there's 2 high schools within the vicinity of this HMO.
With regards to the age group, I presume it's between 25 and 35. We're looking at.
Any further question, Councillor Heatherton?
No, thank you. No, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Miller.
Hi, I'm sure it's to spec, but what struck me when I looked at the plans, for 28 rooms, there wasn't much kitchen space. You know, you had a bigger kitchen space on the bottom floor, and then you had the lounge and whatever. But in terms of 28 people, I don't know if it just didn't seem adequate, kind of. And then the laundry was kind of cut short for an ensuite bit. So I thought those sort of facilities, the cooking and the laundry, were a bit sparse, really. But there again, it must be according to plans or spec, or somebody would have picked it up, I think. But that for me, when I looked at the plans, that's what struck me.
I was going to come.
I don't know if you want to respond to that. No?
Yeah.
John Baker might be able to answer that for you, Councillor.
I mean, the agent may wish to add, but Councillor Miller, as always, we do look carefully at the internal space standards. You're quite right. I mean, we've seen some appalling, shall I say, proposed conversions, haven't we, as regards space standards. But within our adopted supplementary guidance around internal space standards, I mean, the case officer has provided a commentary in paragraph 9.9, and pretty much it is on the mark, actually. It's minimal, but it does hit our minimum standards. I think there was one query regarding one of the bedrooms, which was just slightly below the minimum space standards that we want. But that aside, everything else meets policy. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Back to Councillor Chidley.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yeah, just picking up on what Councillor Miller's just said. I'm looking at the kitchen. What about fridge space? Where's the, or how many fridges are going to be allocated?
Mr. Benning.
We have got space there. I mean, we've got 3 sinks on one side and 3 cookers on the other side. And on the left-hand side, we was looking to allocate the fridges. I mean, please do note there will be a caretaker on site, living in one of the rooms who will be looking after our premises anyway on a daily basis.
Okay.
Yeah, we've got enough space in the kitchen for the fridges.
Yeah. Is he going to be paid by yourselves then?
Sorry?
Is he going to be paid by yourselves?
Yes.
Yeah.
Correct, yeah.
And what's he going to be doing? Is he going to be cleaning and stuff like that?
Yeah, just keeping an eye on the premises, doing the cleaning, just generally looking after the premises basically.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions? No. May I ask a member of the committee for a motion, please?
I'll move the motion, Councillor Mushtaq Hussain, for recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Hussain. Can I have a seconder, please?
Seconded, Chair.
Councillor Allen here, I'll second that.
Councillor Allen. I'll now hand over to Stephanie to take the vote.
Thank you, Chair. So the motion is approval, subject to the conditions set out in the published planning report. Chair, are you voting for, against or abstaining?
For.
Councillor Heavican, for, against or abstaining?
Against.
Councillor Ahmed?
For.
Councillor Allen seconded the recommendation. Councillor Chidley?
For.
Councillor Dallu? Councillor Dallu, you're on mute.
For. Can you hear me now? For.
Yes, thank you. Councillor Hughes?
Against.
Councillor Hussain moved the recommendation. Councillor Jones?
Against.
Councillor Mabina?
For.
Councillor Miller?
For.
And Councillor Rowe?
For.
Thank you, Chair. The application is approved.
Right, their application is approved. So we'll move on to the next application, which is agenda item 7, planning application DC/20/64318, proposed additional lift and enclosure to 5 blocks, Coniston, Derwent, Rydal, Ullswater and Windermere Houses, Babsey Road and Brendan Road, Albury. I have no notification of anyone's been lobbied. Councillor Chidley?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I know the area very well. I know the flat. And since there's no objection, I'd like to put forward a motion that we approve the proposed approval. Thank you.
It's a bit previous, but I'll come back to you when we get to that stage. Thank you. Have you been lobbied, though?
No.
No. Right, thank you. John, is there any updates, please?
Chair, no, nothing to add to the recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you. We have no one registered to speak. John, are there any updates from Highways, Public Health to address the committee?
Chair, no, it's all fairly quiet actually. Members may remember that we actually visited this site. I think it was at towards the end of 2019, when the original proposal was to construct an additional floor on each of these 5 blocks, and we actually visited the scheme. It was approved. It's a housing department proposal. Now, housing department have come back to us to say that look, we need additional lifts to serve the extra floor. The lifts would be external to the building, so therefore need planning permission. We've consulted wide and far. I mean, it was quite unprecedented actually. We sent out 269 neighbour notification letters, and we had 2 objections come back. Essentially, I mean, there is a summary within the report, but the objections raising issues around the potential for noise disturbance from the flats, loss of external drying areas, and I think somebody said that they felt the lifts were too small. But from a planning perspective, we've received no other objections from any consultees, hence we're happy to recommend approval. Thank you.
Right, thank you. Do any members of the committee have any questions for the planning officers?
No, Chair.
No questions. Right, in that case, we will go to a vote. Councillor Chidley, would you like to move the motion?
Yes, please. I'd like to move the motion that we approve the proposal. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I have a seconder, please?
I'll second that, Chair.
Councillor Evercombe. And Stephanie will take the vote.
Thank you, Chair. So the motion is approval, subject to the conditions as set out in the published report. Councillor Downing, are you for, against or abstaining?
For.
Councillor Heatherton seconded it. Councillor Ahmed?
For.
Councillor Allen?
For.
Councillor Dallu?
For.
Councillor Hughes?
For.
Thank you. Councillor Hussain?
For.
Councillor Jones?
For.
Councillor Mabina?
For.
Councillor Miller?
For.
And Councillor Rowe?
For.
Thank you. That application is approved.
Right, we'll now move on to agenda item 8. Planning application DC/20/64341. Proposed single-storey rear extension to provide cafe use to the rear of existing shop premises 7476 Cape Hill, Smethwick. I haven't received any notification of anyone's been lobbied. Unless anyone wants to register that now.
No, Chair.
I take there as no. Sorry?
She said no.
No, right, thank you. John, do you have any updates on this application, please?
Chair, no, nothing to add to the recommendation. Thank you.
Right, thank you. We don't have anyone registered to speak. Do any members of the committee have any questions to any of the officers? No?
No, Chair.
Committee will now move to, no debate as there's no questions. Can I ask a member for a motion then, please?
I move the recommendation, Chair.
I'll second that, Chair.
Right, in that case, Stephanie will take the vote.
Thank you, Chair. So the motion is approval subject to conditions set out in the published reports. Chair, are you voting for, against or abstaining?
For.
Thank you. Councillor Heatherton seconded the motion. Councillor Ahmed?
For.
Councillor Allen?
For.
Councillor Chidley?
For.
Councillor Dallu moved it. Councillor Hughes?
For.
Thank you. Councillor Hussain?
For.
Councillor Jones?
For.
Councillor Mabina? Councillor Mabina, are you there?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I said 4. Yeah.
Thank you. Councillor Miller?
For Kathy, yes.
Councillor Rouse?
4.
Thank you. The application's approved unanimously.
Right. Thank you, Steph. We'll now move to agenda item 9. Planning application DC/20/64422. Proposed single-storey side and rear extension, number 8 Alwyn Road, Rowley Regis. I haven't any indication that anyone's been lobbied. Can I ask if anyone's been lobbied?
No, Chair.
No, right, thank you. John, do you have any updates on the report, please?
I do, Chair. Well, as we discussed with you earlier today, this is our graduate town planner, Beth. This is Beth's first ever application before committee. As regards the recommendation itself, at the time of writing the report, in order just to try and move things along as quickly as possible, the publicity period was still running. The publicity period has now expired. We've had no objections, so the recommendation can be amended to read planning permission is recommended to be granted, subject to the approval of external materials. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, John. Do any members of the committee have any questions for any officers? No? No one? In that case, then, may I ask a member of the committee for a motion, please?
Yes, Chair, can I move the recommendation as laid out in the papers?
I'll second that, Chair.
Right. And Stephanie will take the vote now.
Thank you, Chair. Are you voting for, against or abstaining?
For.
Councillor Henrikin seconded the motion. Councillor Ahmed?
For.
Councillor Allen moved the recommendation. Councillor Chidley?
For.
Councillor Dalu?
For.
Thank you. Councillor Hughes?
For.
Councillor Hussain?
For.
Councillor Jones?
For.
Councillor Mabina?
For.
Councillor Miller?
For.
Councillor Rouse?
For.
Thank you. The application is approved unanimously.
Right, John, you can tell our young Beth that her application has been approved. Thank you.
That's lovely. That's lovely, Chair. Let's hope it's going to be the first of many. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Right,
Alex.
agenda item 10, applications determined under powers delegated to the Director, Regeneration and Growth. This is report is for noting and sets out the decision taken by officers since the committee last met under the delegated powers set out within the council's constitution. And again, John, you can take back our thanks to the officers for keeping that going and doing a sterling job. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Chair. Thank you, members. And it has been difficult for officers, and not just planning, because it is a collective team effort as well. We do rely on colleagues from highways, public health, urban design, and so forth. So it is a really great collective effort. But thank you.
Thank you very much. Agenda item 11, decisions of the Planning Inspectorate. This report is for noting and informs the committee of the outcome of appeals that have been made to the Planning Inspectorate by applicants who were unhappy with the committee's decision to refuse planning permission. And I believe we've won one and lost one. Is that correct, John?
Yeah, I would kind of put it as we've won two actually, Chair, and just lost the one, because the one application was for costs as well against the council, and whilst we lost, all right, we lost the overall war, if you like, with that particular one, but we did have a minor battle win in terms of the costs, and when the inspector threw out the application, it was quite interesting actually, members, because in the decision letter, which is an interesting read, the inspector did attach great weight to the fact that you yourselves as members decided to visit the site before your decision was made. So that clearly carried some sway in the appeals application being dismissed.
Right, thank you very much, John. That brings us to the end of the meeting. Thank you everyone for your attendance and contributions, and hope to see you all next month fit and well. Thank you very much.
Bye. Bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Bye. Bye.